For 17 terrifying minutes, the fate of an entire nation hung by a thread. In those minutes, a chilling silence spread through the corridors of power. Radios went dead, and a coded emergency transmission vanished mid-sentence. Deep in the heart of Ouagadougou, the man at the center of Burkina Faso's future, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, stood face to face with death. But somehow, impossibly, he survived. What happened that day remains shrouded in half-truths, classified reports, and whispers among the military elite. But this is the story insiders never wanted the world to hear. A story of betrayal, survival, and a last-second escape that shocked even Traoré's closest allies. At 2:39 a.m., an encrypted message arrived at the National Intelligence Directorate in Ouagadougou. 3 words: "The lion falls." It was a phrase buried deep in a decades-old Cold War codebook, known only to a handful of operatives trained in psychological warfare. To most, it meant nothing. But to those who understood its weight, it was the doomsday signal, the alert that a national leader was marked for termination. Within 12 minutes, the message was deleted. But it had already done its damage. April 11, 2025, was cloudless, blue, and deceptively calm. The sun rose lazily over Ouagadougou's rooftops, casting golden lines across the capital like veins of hope. For most citizens, it was just another day, but within the walls of Camp Guillaume, where Captain Ibrahim Traoré had his strategic command, tension sat heavy like fog. In private quarters, Traoré reviewed reports of intercepted drone flights near the border, satellite data showing unusual movements by paramilitary units, and internal notes pointing to something worse: fragmentation within the ranks of his own military council. To his aides, he appeared unbothered, calm, composed, wearing the olive-green fatigues that had become a symbol of his defiance against Western dominance. But one of them, Commandant Yassine Doumbia, later told a journalist, there was something in his eyes that morning, a stillness, as if he knew something was coming. At 11:42 a.m., Traoré left for the inspection. Just 38 minutes later, Burkina Faso would be changed forever. The convoy was small. No helicopters, no media, just 2 armored vehicles, 5 guards, and the president. The route was chosen at random, or so they thought. Intelligence suggested it was clear. But what no one realized was that the enemy wasn't waiting outside. It was already inside. The GPS coordinates had been leaked. The route was mapped. Even the signal jammer was disabled from within. At 12:17 p.m., the ambush was sprung. It happened fast. Faster than anything Traoré's team had ever encountered. The first blast came from underneath. A buried IED so powerful it lifted the lead vehicle into the air, flipping it like a toy before slamming it into the earth. The shockwave shattered windows for 100 meters. The second strike was airborne, a rocket-propelled grenade that tore through the tailing vehicle, killing all 4 occupants instantly. Traoré's vehicle, caught in the middle, swerved and crashed into a shallow ravine. Smoke, screaming, gunfire, chaos. Then came the bullets, short, rapid bursts, fired from modified Belgian FN rifles. Suppressed, precise, professional. These were not bandits. These were not jihadists. These were trained military contractors, possibly mercenaries from a private outfit operating in Mali or Chad, or worse, disavowed agents with Western links. Traoré's bodyguards formed a last defense. 3 men crouched around their president, firing into shadows. One took a bullet through the jaw. Another was hit in the spine and collapsed instantly. Traoré himself, bleeding from his left ear, had grabbed the rifle from a fallen soldier. He emptied an entire magazine, unsure if he was hitting anything. He thought of his country. He thought of his mother. He thought of God. He was ready to die. At 12:31 p.m., just 14 minutes after the first explosion, salvation came from the sky. A helicopter, matte black and completely unmarked, streaked over the horizon. Not a single call was made. No one had summoned it. No authorization codes were shared. It moved like a predator. Traoré's surviving men braced for annihilation. But then the chopper opened fire on the attackers. A minigun tore through the trees. A precision-guided missile eliminated the last of the insurgents. The smell of gunpowder and pine filled the air. The jungle crackled with flame. Then silence. The helicopter touched down for exactly 34 seconds. 6 masked soldiers in black tactical armor stormed out, pulled Traoré from the wreckage, and vanished. They left no insignia, no names, no traces. For hours, no one knew if Traoré was dead or alive. Foreign embassies reported conflicting information. The French embassy allegedly received a briefing that Traoré was missing in action. Social media exploded with rumors. Some said he had been assassinated. Others claimed he had fled into exile. A few conspiracists even insisted he had been abducted by Russian operatives in retaliation for a broken arms deal. Only a handful of officials knew the truth. He was alive, in an underground medical facility beneath a former Soviet-era bunker near the outskirts of Ouagadougou. A site never marked on any map. There, surgeons removed shrapnel from his leg and stitched a 3-inch gash across his scalp. A nurse reportedly wept as she cleaned his face, whispering, "You are not allowed to die. Not you." At exactly 8:02 p.m., Ibrahim Traoré appeared on national television. He sat in a leather chair, wrapped in a military jacket, eyes heavy, voice slow but unbroken. His head was bandaged. Blood stained the collar of his shirt. And yet, he stared directly into the camera and said, "They tried to kill me. Not just me, your hope, your future, your freedom. But I am not dead. And neither is Burkina Faso." The speech lasted 11 minutes. There were no breaks, no apologies, just defiance, raw, unapologetic defiance. In the streets, people cried. In the military, purges began. The betrayal was swiftly avenged. Within 72 hours, over 19 high-ranking officers were detained. Several never saw trial. One, General Karim Zongo, was found dead in a lake near the Ivorian border with 2 bullets in his chest, and a note that read, "The lion does not forget." Traoré refused to name the countries he believed were behind the attack. But diplomatic tensions with France, the US, and ECOWAS flared. A UN report was quietly shelved. Whistleblowers vanished. In one leaked audio recording between 2 French intelligence agents, a voice muttered, "We missed, and now he's a goddamn martyr." Since that day, those closest to Traoré say something in him shifted. He became more focused, more paranoid, more relentless. He no longer shook hands. He never took the same route twice. He installed private surveillance teams. His inner circle shrank to 4 people. He began sleeping in hidden bunkers. He trusted no one, not even his own generals. But he also became more powerful, more symbolic. Children began calling him Le Fantôme, the ghost, because death couldn't find him. Murals of his bloodied face appeared on walls across West Africa, alongside slogans like, "He walked through bullets, for us," and "They tried to bury him. They forgot he was a seed." For one terrifying day, time stood still in Burkina Faso. A nation braced for collapse. Mothers wept. Soldiers panicked. Enemies rejoiced too early. But fate, or something darker and more powerful, intervened. And so, when death came for Ibrahim Traoré, the bullet missed, and a country lived to breathe again. Please like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this.